Howdy, gang. What's going on? Coach Joe, Doc and Jock Podcast, Friday short coming at you. Another weightlifting segment from yours truly. Not just weightlifting, but a press variation, guys, that I think can help you in day-to-day life. So lots of different press variations. We're going to talk today about a behind-the-head press from the split. Sounds complicated, but, guys, it's not. But before we get into that, guys, quick show sponsors. This is my Friday short, Joe, and I have a website called Joe's Barbell. Check that out, guys. Whether you are a mommy trying to make some muscles or a weightlifter gang trying to qualify for the American Open, we can help you out. And even you CrossFitters in between, we can get into that. I've done CrossFit. I don't know if you know this, but I actually went to the games in 2013 with the team. So at one time I was decent at the sport, and from time to time I can throw down and still get after it. I don't really prefer it because I'm a big wimp when it comes to working hard, but I do like to focus on what I like, and I love weightlifting. I have a lot of time doing it, and at Joe's Barbell we talk a lot about a skill-based approach. So check out the YouTube page, Joe's Barbell. We have a ton there, a ton of great demos, ton of great skill work. And guys, at joesbarbell.com, we have a ton of remote weightlifting options to help you out. Anyone who shoots me an email, Joe at Joe's Barbell, with the title Doc and Jock in it, or something about, hey, can I get a week free in your forum? I'll hook you up, guys. We'll give you a week free in the private weightlifting forum where we have about a 24-hour response time where you upload your videos at your leisure, and I will critique and help you out. So get on over there, guys. And also, if you check out the at Joe's Barbell IG Instagram feed, you'll get a couple of videos and pictures of a curious gentleman, my coach. My coach is a squirrel. Get the lowdown on what's going on with the daily Dush posting and the story on that. It's a funny one. It's a good one. And it's not really a gimmick as much as it's just me being me. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit of a weird, quirky guy, especially if you listen to this podcast long enough. But the story of the taxidermy squirrel is a good one. I think we allude to it a bit in our Kelly Starrett interview. So check that out. Get the story behind Dush, and let me know what you think of the daily Dush posting. Fear the squirrel, guys. A lot going on there. We all need a coach. Mine just so happens to be a squirrel. But so what's going on with this behind the head press from the split variation? We did a post on this. It's an exercise I do quite a bit. I love it. It's one of my favorite press variations. Very useful and functional for weightlifters. I also think it's really functional for the average person. You know, we get squat, 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 squat. It's in your face that you should squat all the time. And you do for the most part, right? We have to use the bathroom, so you're squatting there. But guys, we also walk a lot. So I think any variation that's going to put you in a split is going to help you walk more. It's going to keep you functional. It's going to keep you from tripping. You know, I don't know if you've fallen down lately, but I fell down recently on a hike and busted my ass. And when an adult falls down, it's not like when a kiddo falls down. It hurts. We're not as rubbery as those kiddos. My kids fall down a lot more than I do because they're kids. I don't fall down when I do. It hurts like hell. And I really think working these split variations in the press and doing lunges and doing single leg work is going to help you strengthen your leg. I mean, when you walk, you're on one leg. Or when you're running, you're on one leg. You need to strengthen those one legs. And when you squat, you can kind of compensate. And working in these split positions does not allow for that same compensation. In fact, it forces you to strengthen those legs. So when you're doing your split variations from the press, I think you also get some of that. So that's my note on kind of functionality, guys. It's a word that's thrown a lot, you know, CrossFit and functional fitness. But is it really? You know, your functional fitness needs to be doing exercises that are going to promote the best and most transferable positions, and also the positions that you utilize in your sport. So especially if you're a weightlifter, yes, pressing from the split is pretty functional. And yeah, I really think there's some value in doing some lunging type movements and holding those lunges to develop some functionality. So, you know, and then also, guys, if you have some injuries, these single leg variations or these split variations are also going to be exercises that clear up some asymmetries that are going to allow you to squat better, and that's going to build some more functionality. So layering your strength and conditioning, layering your exercises to promote functionality is an individual basis. You should have a good coach helping you out. I know one. And I also know some other ones that if you want to work in person, we can refer you out. So a quick note on functionality and why we do some of these things. So a few reasons that I think when we also talk about some functionality of the split in weightlifting, generally folks go to it in the jerk because you can maintain a vertical and upright torso in the split position, and there's not the same mobility requirements as maybe a squat jerk or even a power jerk. So when you get into that split, the hips are just in a happier position to stay upright and help that spine, and the hips hold water and the spine stays neutral. When we get deep into a squat jerk, it's a lot harder to do. So we've talked about that in some other posts, so go back and check that out. But that's why. So, and again, I think the split variation is going to force you to be in that split longer to develop some stability in that. And if we followed some of the Friday shorts, we know that stability is a big deal. We can mobilize, we can strengthen, we can have all these different mechanisms to build positions. But if you're not practicing stability in some of these positions, you're really just renting that real estate. So for me, when you get into these pressing variations from the split, it forces you to stay in the split longer. When I press from the split, I don't generally I've never gone for a 1 rep max from the split. I'm usually going to do sets of 3 to 12 with a switch in the middle. And it forces me to stay in that split for a long time. And while I'm pressing, my body, my legs, my hips, my knees, my feet, we're looking for stability. So the other thing that I do when I do these pressing from the split variations, I'm doing them barefoot. So you'll see the video linked here in the show notes that I'm barefoot, pressing behind the head, throwing that barbell over my head, and it forces me to find stability. Okay, as I'm getting older, I'm trying to get wiser, and I'm finding different little ways to layer my strength and conditioning so it's not just load and rep dependent. We hear a guy like Quinn Hinnock talk about it on his Clinical Athlete Instagram page quite a bit. There's some interesting stats coming up about weightlifting, and it's not very dangerous, right? If we look at the injury rates among kids and Olympians, they're very low regarding weightlifting. The big knock, though, is people want to say, it's chronic. We can get some chronic pain in the wrist and this and that and the other thing and the overuse. But Quinn makes a great point that if you monitor your load and you're not just chasing big numbers for a long time and you're up and down, in and out of these different intensities, you won't see some of those injuries. And I think that this press variation does that because it is a lighter press variation, and we're layering some different things on there. So let's get into some of the technique that we need to do with this kind of pressing from the split. Oh, wait, one more thing to go over. Behind the head variations are great. I do a ton of behind the head pull-ups. I press a ton from behind the head, and I'll generally get somebody from the back of the room saying it's bad for your shoulders. I will sit here and tell you that the battery of athletes that I deal with is not a huge sample. Okay? I'll also tell you that in my own personal experience, as soon as I started to go to these variations, as soon as I started doing pull-ups from behind the head, I went at them low with light weight and built the positions first, and now I'm working on strengthening those solid positions. My shoulder pain is gone, right? So if you are a big, burly gent who can't get overhead, these positions are not going to be easy for you. And I will tell you, if you go to max out your press from behind the head, whether you're seated, whether you're standing, whether you're from the split, you probably will tweak and freak out your shoulder. You need to build the position first. And I'm going to tell you what, if you have some crunchy shoulders, if you spend some time getting a behind the head pull-up and then go into this press variation after you have that behind the head pull-up, I guarantee you're going to have some happier shoulders. Right here, this information is, my data is different from some of those who say that it's bad for the shoulder. I have not experienced it. In fact, I've had guys who have banged up shoulders, and we work on getting that behind the head pull-up variation. And once they can really get that behind the head pull-up and hold that back of their neck to that pull-up bar, a lot of this shoulder pain goes away. Okay, upward and onward, guys, to some of the specifics and technique of this behind the head press from the split variation that you're seeing here. So I love this to dial in the teaching that I do to get into the split. So we need to know where to split. What should your split look like? So there's great stuff you can get. Look at CrossFit Weightlifting. We interned with them. We were invited onto the staff there. Coach Bergner is a guy who's been around, and he's got some great stuff. So he's got some cool videos about drawing pictures. You guys can do that. I don't particularly draw the picture for a couple of reasons. One, it's messy. It takes a while. And I think it gives you a great visual cue to where to put your feet. And I think it's great for really early folks getting on board with the split, and it gives them that first place to go. One of the reasons I don't like it is you have to look down to see if you got there. Then you drop your head, and I don't like that. And the fact is, too, when you get that picture, you can't be dependent on it, because eventually, if you're going to compete in weightlifting, that picture is going to go away, and it can't be on the platform, right? And you can't draw it every time. So great for beginners. You got to get away from it. So one of the things that I really like to do with all my folks is I just want you to take a knee and get stacked up. So when we talk about taking a knee and getting stacked up, whether it's your right or left leg, your head, you're just going to drop to one knee. And when you drop to this position, you should notice with your front leg, your front heel should be slightly in front. Let's go back to this. You want to be squat width. You want to be squat width and take a knee, right? When we do our split variation, guys, we want a bit of a wider stance. We don't want to split on the tightrope. So the first thing we need to do is walk our feet out to shoulder width. Walk your feet out to shoulder width about where you're going to receive the barbell in a clean, about where you're going to squat, the width you're going to squat when you have a barbell in your back, or the front squat or the overhead squat. Then from there, you're going to go into this kneeling position. So when we're in this kneeling position at about shoulder width, we're going to take the front leg and stack that heel slightly in front of that knee. And then your back leg, that knee that's on the ground, you want to make sure that knee is under your hip and your hip is under your shoulders and your trunk is strong in between. We talked about Everyday's Back Day in the last year's Barbell Short. Dr. Danny and I have released the Everyday's Back Day program. Check that out for how to strengthen that trunk, but stiffen that thing up. And then from here, we're going to take the front knee, whether it's your right or left, the front foot, turn the toe in ever so slightly to your midline. Take your back foot, put that toe in the ground hard, take your back heel and turn it out ever so slightly so both your toes are pointed towards the midline, and engage the glutes hard, and you're going to rise up about 6 to 8 inches. And that should be your split position, guys. It's a little deeper for some folks, but from this position, you can just kiss your back knee to the ground and really get some good work there. This is kind of a split squat. It's a great way to build stability. I would suggest doing this with both legs. And the leg that you feel more stable going into some of these 8-inch kind of split squatty reps, it's probably the leg you should split with. And if one leg feels a lot more wonky in front than the other, and the whole movement kind of goes to shit, and you're vibrating, you can't hold your balance, well, you should stick on that other side a little bit more too. That's a sign of a nasty asymmetry. Again, another great reason to work from the split. So that's how we kind of get into that. We just want to be stacked up, guys. We want to be wide. The other thing that we want to do when we're in that kind of split squatty position is drive the knees towards your small toes. I'm not a big fan of overly pushing the knees out. Excessively driving the knees past your feet is no bueno in my mind. We want to take the knees and kind of drive them towards your small toe. Your knee should track with your feet. And I think if we go to this toes forward, toes in a touch position in the split, we can really generate some stability in the hips. So we'll get some of that here. And before we even press, we can build that good base by practicing this great split position. So we'll try and get a video of this linked up. You can kind of see what we're talking about. We'll make sure we get a video of it. And now into the press variation. So now that we have this great split built up, we're kissing our back knee to the ground, all right? We know what we're doing in the split. We can now get into our press. So why do I initially press from behind the head? Well, for one, if learning that split is crazy, well, then probably your front rack's going to be interesting. So one of the hardest things to do about a jerk is navigating the head. We see a lot of crazy bar paths that are out in front when we work from the front rack. So I like to take that away. You've just spent a lot of time learning the split. It's a difficult position to learn. So let's just get the bar behind our head and drive it straight up. What that does as well is it teaches the body where the bar should be in the overhead position. We want the barbell behind the head, not over the ears, not over the nose. The bar needs to be behind the head. The head needs to clear the barbell. And being able to do this is very important for stability. We can then also engage the shoulders more. If we can get the barbell behind the head, we can kind of shrug up on the bar, and we get that scap activated, and we're super secure. We've talked about some of this in our pressing snatch balance variations, where we're going to kind of twist that thumb away. We get some of that here in this variety of press. So if we start from behind the head, we just have to go straight up. And then down the line, as we integrate the front rack, the bar knows where to go. The body knows where to put the bar. When we talk about grip width on this press variation, you might notice that mine's a touch wide. That's because I jerk a little wider. That's going to shorten the range of motion. It's going to shorten how far I have to push the bar up. And it's something that I'm comfortable with. You, in the beginning, probably want to do this press variation where your shoulders are going to allow. And I would suggest maybe working it out to a wider grip as you go. And there's some value in doing, you'll see some Klokov pressing coming out, and that's where we're going to be seated and do a snatch variation of the press from behind the head. You can stand and do that as well. And I think there's a ton of value in working out to a wider grip. And if you bring the grip in tighter, you're also going to get some more tricep work. Where you put the grip, where you put your grip, how wide it is, that's between you and your coach. In the beginning, wherever you're jerking from, go for it. And in the beginning, wherever your shoulder mobility allows is another good thought to think about there. So that's what we're talking about, how to get into the stance. That's how we're talking about why we're going from behind the head. I will progress this to a front rack variety. And then also, guys, programming this. For me, it depends also. That's between you and your coach, what you're going on with. But, I always suggest when you have a new movement like this, go through a bit of a starting strength protocol with it. Why not go 2 to 3 days a week, pressing from the split, 3 sets of 5, working across, building up and load, and just learning the motor pattern, building up in strength, and working from there. For me, after I would go through maybe 3 days a week of a starting strength protocol, and I kind of tap out that linear progression, well, then maybe I'll do a Texas method with it. And when I work a Texas method kind of program with it, that middle day might be maybe I'll go press from the split, build the load up. The second day I'm pressing, I'm going to maybe do a lighter push press variation, working speed. And then I'll go back to the linear progression. So there's all types of ways to incorporate this into your training. I think there's a ton of value in pressing from the split. I think the biggest value of this is not so much as a strength builder for the shoulders, but a stability builder for the split jerk. Oftentimes as a coach, we want you in these positions. We want you in the bottom of the squat, but we don't challenge you to stay there. So you'll notice a lot of times in my lifting, if you follow us on social media, I pause in the bottom, and I'm gaining practice being there. So in a meet, I don't practice there, right? So stick in the bottom, work some of this stuff in, and I think you'll find that it'll be very helpful. And then again, if you're a weightlifter, in particular, if you're a splitter, how much time do you really spend in the split? Sure, you have sets and reps programmed where you're splitting, working up to this, working up to that. But if you really look at the time you actually spend in your receiving positions, they're very small. Talk to a guy like Tommy Kono. I had a chance to meet him before he passed. God bless and rest in peace there, Tommy Kono. Great ambassador for the sport of weightlifting. Guy was had an opportunity to meet. 3 times and was proud to say, it's a picture of him that hangs on my wall. But he said one time, get the heck out of there. It's only going to get worse. And I think, though, in practice, that getting worse is a good thing because it's training the body to be down there. Okay, so get in the split, guys. Press from the split. Hope this helps. Check out the video. Send us some questions, guys. These questions and topics come to us straight from your iTunes review. So if you have a question for myself on weightlifting, strength and conditioning, gaining muscle, burning fat, any of that great stuff, strength and conditioning wise, or even maybe parenting. Maybe you also have some questions about this weird taxidermy squirrel that's been popping up into my videos recently. I'll answer those questions too. Shoot them to me, Joe at Joe's Barbell, and we will hook you up. Tag them in your iTunes reviews, and guys, we'll answer them here in a show. Also, guys, check out the Doc and Jock webpage. On that webpage, we have the 7-day free mobility WOD overhaul and some information on Dr. Danny and I's Every Day is Back Day programs. We also have some other great show sponsors, Performa Sleep, Shoe Q, guys. Check that stuff out. Hope this helps. Hopes, gang, we hope this proves that if you have a body, you are an athlete. Thanks for listening.